Welcome. This is the sHouse podcast, episode 1. The title is The Two-Generational Approach. It's a stand podcast for the City Club of Cleveland. So today we're going to recap some ideas from a talk given by Ann Mosley, who is a VP at the Aspen Institute and Executive Director of Ascend at the Aspen Institute. If you don't know anything about the City Club of Cleveland, it was formed in 1912, and its motto is America's Citadel of Free Speech. I personally believe that it is one of the foundational institutions of Northeastern Ohio. The speech was broadcast yesterday, July 12th, 2020, on WCLV Classical 104.9 here in Cleveland. Topic of the speech is family prosperity and the power of the parent. I will link the whole 60-minute YouTube video in the notes. Just for context, this speech was given in late February of 2020, before the coronavirus lockdown and the national and international protests to the death of George Floyd. Here are my takeaways from the speech. The two-generation approach is about working with children and adults to improve their lives, addressing the strains and needs of families. The focus is families who live at up to 200% of the poverty line. 41% of children in the United States live in a low-income family. There's a lot of return on investment in early childhood work. Ms. Mosley says that every dollar invested in early learning of a child returns $7. She goes on to cite a Dr. Heckman, who is a Nobel laureate from the University of Chicago, who says that if you support the child and the parent, that being the parent's health and learning, that return for that $1 would be $13. Another point is brain development in the first 5 years is key. The Harvard Center for the Developing Child is quoted that 80% of the brain's core architecture is developing before the age of 5. Another point, the birth of the child is a critical time for the parents. Biological and neurological change. Things are happening when you have a baby inside of your brain. For mothers and fathers, this is a brain bursting moment, is how it's described. It is a highly motivating time for these moms and dads. There's an opportunity for interventions at this time. So a program that Ms. Mosley talks about is in Colorado, and it is the Colorado Parent Empowerment Program, where they bring in fathers and talk to them about the experiences they had with their parents. It's hard to reach some of these dads because in that state, the law can take away your driver's license and even your hunting license if you're behind on child support. That's pretty rough, I think, because the hunting license, you can't even go out and bring home some food that you can put on your table if you're behind. So the outcome of this program, where they talk to the dads about their own experience with their parents, resulted in 80% of those dads going back to work. And it focused more on connecting the father with the kid, trying to, work on that relationship there, and not so much about, creating or focusing on the relationship between the mother and the father, which is, a different motivational standpoint. Another approach which has been proven to be effective has been home visits, where you might have like a social worker or somebody goes and visits the homes. Some of the information that has been gleaned from these home visits is that, parents, they can have these feelings of isolation, which, I can only imagine now in a worldwide pandemic that could be even worse. But these parents, they do have interest in parenting education and job training. So moving on to another point, One of the key indicators of success is high school education / GED for both the kids and the parents. Institutions in the community colleges, and learning centers can be key partners with perhaps the support of the federal funds. It requires a mindset shift that when you are supporting these parents, you are also supporting these kids. So a closing quote from a parent: it is no longer good enough to meet the parents where they are, but really let's meet them where they dream. So this talk runs about 30 minutes. Afterwards, there is a Q&A. Some of the topics in that Q&A are, young parents, immigrant and refugee family, building on previous work in this area and learning. So it's, how the schools and teachers can be involved, and equity. Equity is so hot right now. So final thoughts on this content. The Aspen Institute is no dog and pony show. They are the real deal. It was a great get for the City Club of Cleveland to get the VP to speak there. And mostly she does a great job of talking about the importance of supporting the kids, both through direct support, directly helping those kids, and also helping the kids indirectly through supporting their parents. There's a great quote that some attribute to Native Americans that goes, "We don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children." Children really are the future. The research about the 80% of the brain architecture being developed in the first 5 years is something that I have heard before. And I think it's important to promulgate that point. Those first 5 years, they are quite important. If you have found this City Club Stand podcast interesting, please consider checking out the source material. I assure you that Ann Mosley is a great speaker. If you have a comment, please leave it below, and have a great Cleveland week, whether you live here or not.